fascinating.
This is usually done in an on-site processing plant. The water, once separated, is usually injected back into the reservoir, and the gas used to be burnt off in flares, but is now compressed to be sold later. There are two main ways to separate the oil from the gas. The first is using a density separator. This method utilizes the different densities of the gas, oil and water to separate them from each other. The raw mix is pumped into the separator, which is designed to hold the mix long enough so that the water settles on the bottom, the oil settles in the middle and the gas on top.
Wow, I never knew how interesting petroleum production could be. What happens with the oil after it has been separated?
Once it has been separated, it is put into storage. The most common way of storing the petroleum out at sea is by using things known as concrete gravity structures. The structure is made of extremely thick concrete and is held at the bottom of the sea underneath the oil rig. The weight of the concrete keeps the petroleum held to the sea floor. The oil then awaits a tanker to come and take the oil away, which is part of the next production step, transportation.
Thank you, Christopher Lamb, for that wonderful information on production. Now we have an interview with Bianca Kay on transportation. So Bianca, what exactly is the transportation process of petroleum?
Well, there are different ways to transport oil and gas. There is pipelines, tankers, trucks and trains. Some are transported onshore or offshore.
So what transport is used for what things?
There are several types of tankers of different sizes. There is the coastal tanker, which is the smallest one, then the Panama Max, then Aframax and Suezmax, then VLC, and the largest is ULCC. These stand for very large crude carrier and ultra large crude carrier.
What do these tankers transport?
They transport either crude oil or liquid natural gas. Crude oil tankers are made of several separate tanks to contain the oil. A bridge, an engine room, pump room, fuel tank, propeller and hull. The liquid natural gas tankers are pretty much the same except the containers are bulbous in shape, insulated to keep the containers at a temperature of minus 60 degrees Celsius.
Oh, how interesting. So what are the pipelines used for then?
Pipelines are used for when natural gas or crude oil are needed to be transported a medium distance over land or short distance across water. There are several advantages to this. It's cheap, good environmental history, which means there's not much spills, can be used offshore and onshore, more capital intensive, which means there's less risk of workers going on strike. But there's still a disadvantage. The money has to be paid up front.
So then pipelines are usually used more than other tankers.
Yes, that is true. Since it is used more than others, maintenance technologies have been invented. There's a device called PIG, stands for Pipeline Inspection Gauges. They're robotic devices that are propelled through the pipeline to inspect the insides of the pipeline. They can test the thickness and shape and check for signs of corrosion, leaks and any other interior defects.
Wow, that's so smart. So what was the other transportation that is used?
Trucks and trains. They're used for short distances on land, they're used for short distances on land, where it is not economic to build the pipelines. Pretty much they're only used if the distance is very short or if there's a reason for not building pipelines.
Well, thank you for sharing your information, Bianca.
My pleasure.
We have Bianca again to explain the process of refining. Hi Bianca.
Hello.
So would you mind giving us a brief outline of what refining is?
Well, refining is a complex process where crude oil and the natural gas is being broken down and purified from contaminants.
So what is crude oil?
Crude oil is extracted from the ground and is only called crude oil when it is not being refined. This product is useless when it's not refined and is not sold.
Oh, okay. Well, then how is crude oil refined to be sold?
Well, basically there are 4 steps: separation, conversion, purification and blending. Separation is when crude oil goes through a process called fractional distillation. Crude oil varies from oil field, which results in different colors and viscosity. With different crude oils, it is heated up to 350 and 400 degrees Celsius and then put in fractional distillation tower. The tower has several layers and each of these layers have a pipe that leads out to the tower. They also have an opening where the petroleum can go up and down the tower. When it's heated, it turns into vapor and it is then injected into the tower, and the lighter ones go up and the heavier ones go down. When they reach the condensing point, the molecules then turn back into liquid and the droplets of liquid fall into these layers. Vacuum distillation is then used for the very heavy molecules, which have a boiling point of 450 and higher. If these molecules are heated, they crack, which creates coke, which can stop the process. This is not wanted. The solution is then to allow the lighter molecules to go through the tower and then vacuum the tower. By vacuuming the tower, the heavy molecules do not break and vaporize, allowing them to be separated using the same process.
Wow, that's a lot of work just to separate a substance.
Yes, refining is one of the more complex processes. Separation does not change anything chemically, but it is just separating different hydrocarbons. Yes, refining is one of the more complex processes. Separation does not change anything chemically, but it is just separating different hydrocarbons in the petroleum.
So what's the next step?
Conversion. This is when hydrocarbons can be reformed to make a certain hydrocarbon. This process includes cracking, reforming, alkylation, and polymerization. I will go through these briefly since it's quite confusing. Cracking is used to make lighter hydrocarbons from heavier ones. This is done by placing the heavy hydrocarbons in a catalytic cracker. In this tank, a catalyst is used. Catalysts are things that speed up a reaction but do not change it chemically. Heat is also applied in this process. Under these circumstances, the heavy hydrocarbons break into smaller ones, which is then further refined.
Thank you for this very informative interview.
You're very welcome.
In the petroleum industry, safety is an important factor. Our safety and health officers promote safety and health in the organisation. They check and test machinery and equipment to make sure they match safety standards, check work sites to guarantee safety gear is worn, test the quality of the air, ensure all applicable legislation and law is followed, help with the regulation of accident prevention, carry out safety and health training, recognise hazardous situations and correct them, help with worker rehabilitation, and talk with and provide information to management. Oil and gas industry is actually one of the safest industries to work in, with the least amount of lost time due to injury in 2004 compared to all other industries. Petroleum also is of great economic contribution to Australia's economy, with it being the second largest export in 2004 to 2005 for Australia.
Bottle full of whiskey in my handbag, got my drunk text on, I'll regret it in the morning, but tonight.
Well, this brings us to the end of our documentary. We hope you learned a lot about the 6 aspects of petroleum.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.